Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Maker. During the last part, I covered 10 levels that I found by searching using the term fire. So in this part, I'll be covering a bunch of random levels that I found by repeatedly picking the random level option. Now I did this off screen because what ends up happening is that 75% of the time, whenever I pick that option, I keep getting server errors returned. So I compiled the list of randomly selected level IDs and I'll go through all of them, or at least most of them. So starting out with this one, Prongles by Sopi, 14 plays and a score of 2. And as always, if you want one of your levels to be featured in a future part, please leave the level name and level ID in the comment section below or direct message me on Twitter. And as always, the full disclaimer of this entire LP series is linked in the description below. Also in the description are the timestamps for all the levels I cover in each part. Okay, so a charge kick oriented stage. Fair enough. It seems to be a rather short one judging by the loading time. And suddenly spikes. Really generous checkpoint placement though. So that I do approve of. And that was me choking, but the checkpoint's only a few steps away, so it's not much. After all, the more difficult the stage like this one, the more frequent checkpoint placement should be. And this stage seems to understand that. And it was a really short level as well. So the difficulty progression actually was pretty decent and started easy then quickly ramped up in terms of difficulty, but I would like to see a longer stage. It feels like a nice start for a fuller stage, although smooth out the difficulty curves, Sopi. At the very least, it wasn't frustrating. Then again, that may be also due to the fact I'm getting more used to playing these challenge-oriented levels. Maybe that's why. Second up is Zero Battle by Vent and Model ZX, 16 plays and score of 2. I'll either play up to about 30 minutes or until I complete 10 levels. Let's see which one comes first. No secrets on the left, just a lot of tools. A really big boss door. 4 E&M tanks as well as a checkpoint. And we immediately fight Fairman. Who is immediately immune to all my weaponry, I mean my Mega Buster. We really didn't need the E&M tank, especially because Fairman is weak against the Metal Blade. So that was it. It was less eventful than the previous level. I mean, we just had that series of tools, all those E&M tanks, as well as the boss fight against Fairman, which was super easy. Then again, it's kind of expected that we're gonna get a whole bunch of random levels from various categories: easy, difficult, old, new, short, long, different teams, autoplay, non-autoplay, etc. So the quantity is going to be all over the place, but I kind of expect 90% of the levels, as per Sturgeon's Law, to be below average or worse. So third in the lineup is Freestyle Hell by Awaggkingo, 10 plays and a score of 3. Let's see what this stage is going to be. Rolling Cutter. This is going to be a slight problem with the enemy placement. Just need to time it correctly. At least it one-shots all these enemies. That's really appreciated. Plus I can do stuff like this and rapidly spam the rolling cutter, thanks to quick weapon switching. Gotta be really careful with the ceiling spikes though. Still, this is a rather neat stage. I should have waited over there. And there's me screwing up, I should have walked more to the left. At least the checkpoint's right over here. And something I didn't know until earlier, you can actually walk right through the Skeleton Joes if they're collapsed. There's me screwing up again. That's for a different reason though. I'll just damage boost through this. This time I should be pointed this way. Another nice thing about the rolling cutter is of course you can fire upwards. Still, this stage isn't that difficult. Except when we get to this point. Because I hate these types of jumps, especially with the close ceiling. It's always too pixel precise for my taste. Especially in Mega Man. Well, at least there was only 2 of them. And there's the jump button failing to register even though I pressed it down. I guess the conveyor belts had something to do with it. Didn't want to take any chances there. Neither here, especially with spikes. I see you there, footholder. Let's see if I can do this the correct way. That is, kill the Ben K. How many hits do the Ben K need against the rolling cutter? Honestly, this is showcasing how useful the rolling cutter can be, as well as how it can be kind of a hindrance depending on the enemy placements. This is definitely a challenge level / special weapons oriented stage. Especially because of stuff like precision spike jumps. Wonderful. And no enemies to damage boost off of. Actually, wait. Thank you for placing all the batons there. This makes the stage so much less of a nuisance. I think I can make that jump, but I don't want to risk it. Or rather, the gap in between there, and... alright then. The screen scrolling kind of glitched out over there. Thankfully there's no invisible ceilings either. Oh. Yeah, that block seems to cause some weird issues with scrolling. Now it works. Well, at least that jump isn't that bad. This one is kind of a gotcha moment, especially if you keep holding right, or try sliding. Oh, wonderful, you. Top man. This is gonna be kind of tedious, especially because he only takes 1 damage. At least I can double hit him if I'm good enough. Case in point. I tried breaking out of the jump, but the jump didn't register for some reason. I mean, I tried breaking out of the slide, but the jump didn't register. Strange. And this stage isn't that laggy either, or that big. Guess I won't be sliding around the edges then. This is gonna be a little bit tedious though. Especially because I can only get 1 to 2 hits in at a time. I'm really hesitant to slide over here because of what happened just before there. I tried sliding, but for some reason it's not registering. I don't know what's going on. Somebody's doing the rolling cutter, actually. Oh, there's a short delay for the when you fire off the rolling cutter. That's what's causing it. I didn't expect that would happen. Sure, I'll do it the safe way then. Really, the rest of the stage was more fun than this one. This is just tedious. If the rolling cutter dealt double damage, this would be fine. But having to repeatedly hit Top Man 28 times, that's not that fun. Especially because Top Man's pattern doesn't change at all. Still, the rest of the stage was a neat rolling cutter oriented stage, slash a precision based challenge level, though a little bit more on the easier to normal side, at least for me. So for that reason alone, I will give it a thumbs up. Still, it's more of a 5 or 5.5 out of 10 for me. But it did well showcase how you could use the rolling cutter in interesting configurations, and how it can be a bit of a hindrance in certain other situations, like what we saw with the Big Eyes and the Hothead. The rolling cutter is definitely not designed for those enemies. Fourth up is Island Island by Noble Man 99, 16 plays and a score of 3. A bit of a longer level, but no boss. No secrets to the left. Always check to the left just to be sure. Mega Man 3 physics. Only Mega Buster, no special weapons, only jump, shoot, and sliding. And seals from Mega Man 6 for some reason. I guess this is going to be a tropical island of sorts. Well, thank you for the free E-Tank. Hopefully I won't need to use it. And because I don't have access to the charge shot, I guess I'm going to have to rely on my button mashing skills. Alternate routes. I didn't expect this stage to have it. Let's go down then. Into the island base. I will need to replay through the stage at least once to see what's going on here. Okay, somehow the boss doors didn't work over there. Wait a minute. That's where the pathway split. At least there's no point of no return, so that's a plus. This stage is really generous with the E-Tanks. I guess if there were bolts in this engine, the developer would have instead put bolts there. Or noble nickels or whatever. Because we really don't need 3 E-Tanks to complete this stage, it's not that difficult. It's not that enemy spammy either. And even though I'm screwing up quite a bit, I would say this is a more of a traditional level, definitely a traditional level, especially because we only have the Mega Buster and Mega Man 3 physics. And most of the enemies are, well, the difficulty is being ramped up fine enough, but the enemy introduction is a bit spotty, I'd say. Still, it's fine. It could just be done a bit better. And I do like how you're rewarded for exploring by getting E-Tanks, but probably there should have been something else, because this stage, it doesn't require the uses of E-Tanks because it's not that difficult. At the very least, this stage rewards you for exploring. That I do approve of. I would like access to the charge shot though. Well, might as well burn through the E-Tanks. Hopefully this doesn't become something like Hidden Treasures of the Snake King, where I need all those E-Tanks. Thankfully that pit is an instant death, you can jump out of it. Well, as long as you're damage boosting. Really have nothing more to say about this stage. At least the difficulty progression is nice, and it's more of a normal difficulty type Mega Man level. Well, there was nowhere else to go other than down. Unless you damage boost. Ah, Yoku blocks. Really, this stage uses a bunch of gimmicks actually. It feels a little bit unfocused in that way. Still, it's fun, at the very least. Also, invisible ceiling there. Nope, no alternate pathway there. I was half expecting there to be an alternate pathway that you would access by damage boosting. The previous segment focused on all those robots, now we have all these prop tops or walkers. And that's the end of Island. It's a neat stage, but it kinda got blanded near the end. Honestly, this stage could be 2/3 of the length and it would end fine that way. But I would like them to focus more on a singular set of gimmicks, or a more cohesive set of gimmicks, instead of spreading out like this stage did. Fifth random level is This Is Purple, Not Pink by Roiler, 21 plays and a score of 6. The highest scoring level of this part so far. Let's see how it stands and hope it's not as bland as the previous level. Because the most interesting and fun level I played so far was that challenge level. We start the level by going through left. We have a starry background, dive missile, ice slasher, hard knuckle, flying shells, and Time Man's tile set. Time Man's the boss after all. Gotta be a bit careful about the brain breaks though. Not even too difficult so far. Just gotta be a bit careful with the flying shells though. After all, they will deflect the dive missile when they're closed. So I gotta be careful so I don't get sniped out of the sky and fall into a pit or something. Thank you over there. That was a slick dodge. Too bad I don't have access to the shine. That would make a minced meat out of the boss. Fighting Pikmin in these scenarios isn't that hard. This feels like a traditional level, because we don't need any of the special weaponry. And, well, it feels like either a traditional level or fortress level, because it seems to be kind of understood that you already understand how these gimmicks work. But in that case, it feels like a somewhat bland one. Okay, here's something interesting. We have the Cossack platforms, and now we have to make our jumps properly in order to jump over these spike barriers. That's neat. Here we gotta be careful so we don't jump too low that we bonk our head against the ceiling or side of the platform, and not too high that we end up skewing ourselves into the ceiling spikes there. Gotta be careful about the brain breaks, especially when I destroy their glasses, or knock off their glasses. Speaking of which... that's a funny thing I wanted to show about the brain breaks. Let me see if we can showcase that again, assuming there's another brain break coming up soon. Neat, now we have combinations of earlier gimmicks. We have a combination of the Cossack platforms and the flying shells. We were first introduced to both of them in safer environments, now we're getting introduced to them in more dangerous environments. So bravo or kudos to the developer in that term. Same with the Pikmin now. We first fought them in a relatively plain ground, then a bit more difficult, now we're doing it uneven terrain. Checkpoint placement is fine as well. So this is definitely becoming my favorite level of the bunch. It's somewhere between a traditional level and a fortress level. I'll mark it as a traditional one. The caustic platform introduction could have been done in a safer environment, but other than that, I think it's more like a traditional level. I wanted the damage boost over there. Okay, time to showcase the brain break funniness. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Repeatedly fired it, and the brain break has a lot more health. And then suddenly its glasses come off, and then we can destroy it. Yes, when you freeze the brain breaks with Eye Slasher, they suddenly get a lot more health, basically infinite, because they're waiting for their glasses to fly off, but they can't because, well, they're frozen. Now I have a combination of the Picket Man and the Flying Shells. And there's me failing to jump properly. Now here. I half expect there to be flying shells coming from nowhere. Nope, just spike jumps. And didn't quite make it there. Although one complaint I have about this stage is the fact that checkpoints are a little bit too farly spaced apart. They should be a bit... Phew, I made it past that segment. That took at least a dozen attempts to do properly. I know there's a checkpoint just a few screens away, but personally I would like there to be one more checkpoint there. But that's just me. That's me and my preferences. But other than that, I'd say the stage is fine. Time to fight Time Man and his cohort Flying Shell. Also off screen in one of my cuts that I didn't show, I got an E-Tank. That will be helpful. Especially because of how annoying the flying shells are. Well, at least it slows down the flying shell too. Just need to make sure I don't die. There we go. So I found this stage to be average to about above average. Alright, 6th level on this random lineup is Boss Tag Team 5 by That Dangerous D-Pad, 14 plays and a score of 3. This will be a boss fight oriented stage because I remember playing one of their levels from the same author, and that was the boss gang up stage where we fought multiple bosses at once. Well, all the bosses that were present on Mega Maker at the time. So let's see what this stage has to offer. A lot of enemies, it seems. And a lot of enemy spam, but we have all these special weapons, so I guess it's somewhat justified. Plus I'm damage boosting a lot here. Okay, Cutman and Nightman. Well, okay. Because they can fire projectiles, the Shine is the best option. Especially because of how the delay works. Especially because I can also deflect each other's Worldmaster projectiles back at each other, as shown here. So that was the end of Boss Tag Team 5, and the boss music glitched out, but the same thing happened during Boss Gang Up. I guess it's a limitation of the engine. For what it was a short but fun boss tag team encounter. So 7th up is Camelot 1 by Mega Master 1, 7 plays and a score of 2. I'll be playing through this level and the next one, then I'll end off this part. So let's see what this level has to offer. Mega Buster, Charge Kick, and a whole bunch of enemies thrown down. I guess it's gonna be an enemy gauntlet stage. And at last we have the Mega Buster for once, or rather the Charge Shot Mega Buster. An E&M tank, no sliding for some reason, and a huge boss door, and immediately Bomb Man. I guess his weakness is the Charge Kick. Not the best option though. I'll just use the Charge Shot. Never mind, his weakness is actually the Mega Buster. Weird. This stage doesn't force you to use the Charge Kick, but alright then. I get the feeling that the weapons should be switched, where the Mega Buster should be the special weapon, and the primary weapon should be the Charge Kick instead, to actually give this boss fight some semblance of challenge. But I guess not. Alright, 8th level is Apple Forest by Miguel779, 12 plays and a score of 1. Well, this will be the last level I'll cover in this part, it seems. A lot of special weapons. And immediately introduced to a checkpoint and run face first into all these Crystal Joes. That's not fun. Oh, Firestorm. Yeah, this is another one of the stages that was hastily put together, I believe, without exact rhyme or reason. Especially in terms of enemy placements. And the tile set, as you can see here. We randomly chose this downward tile set. Okay, I recognize it from Heatman stage, but even then it feels randomly plonked together. And it feels really out of place. Same with the checkpoints, actually. But to be fair, I kind of expected this with a random level selection. More than 90% of the levels are going to be lower quality. Well, thank you for all the drops. We really don't need all those large life energies. We don't have M-tanks, actually. If we did, that would be awesome. And a whole pile of E&M tanks. And the boss fight against Plant Man himself. Let me see, what's his weakness? There are a whole bunch of different weapons I can utilize against him, so let's try all of them. It's Firestorm. At least that makes sense. You know what, I'll cover one more level in this part and see what they do. I'm going over about 40 minutes in terms of real-time gameplay, but I'll cut it up more so you won't see it as long. This was mainly due to the fact that that one level with This Is Purple Not Pink, requiring a lot of retries due to all the deaths. Still, at least it was enjoyable. So ninth and final level of this part is Red Hot Easy Mode by Gandalf the Dev Exit Magician, 11 plays and a score of -2. Oh goody, dev exits. This is gonna be fun. And by what I mean by fun, it means, oh gosh, there's gonna be a lot of hidden stuff. At least there's no invisible blocks over here in Mega Man Maker. Invisible blocks or invisible collision. Oh no, whoa. And they call this easy mode. This doesn't look like an easy mode to me. This is... well, if this is easy mode, I'm fearful what the hard mode version will be. And the Snake Man team is really inappropriate for this rather reddish colored stage. Wow, spike hitboxes. To be fair, now that I think about it, Magmol 2, aka Make a Good Mega Man Level 2 contest, that also has really big spike hitboxes. After all, both this and that game are based off of the Mega Engine. I say really big spike hitboxes relative to the original Mega Man game. This time I actually hit the checkpoint. Let's hope that this stage doesn't take too long and isn't too frustrating. After all, I can damage boost a lot through the stage. And I failed to realize that that ceiling was that low. This is definitely one of those Kaizo levels, I would say. I see that. it camouflages itself with the background. These jumps too. Yep, this is definitely going to be the final level of this part, and this is one of the illustrations of why I don't like precision-based challenge levels in Mega Man Maker. I'll give it one more go, then I'll end off this part. There are a lot more better design levels anyway in Mega Man Maker that deserve more attention anyway. That's it, I'm going out of here. Here I am in the level editor. I decided to at least see what the rest of the stage looks like, as there is no way I'll be able to complete this. Well, I could do it, but it's going to require a lot of jump cuts, or a lot of retries and deaths. And after playing through all the 8 other stages, well, I don't feel like doing this. This is definitely my least favorite level of the part, mainly due to all the spikes. There's only 1.5 more segment left, then we'd fight Metal Man in this actually more interesting environment. Let me see what his weakness is actually. Oh, of course, you'd have to use the max fire or the max power of atomic fire in order to destroy him. That's gonna be a slight problem though, especially with his with the spikes over here and all these footholders moving up and down, I think. But still, this would be an interesting boss environment. And to be fair, the atomic fire does have a fully charged shot that does deal 3 damage at base, I believe. So this would be a neat fight, especially because Metal Man would kind of get stuck against the low ceilings whenever he jumps. This would be a neat boss encounter, but the rest of the level I feel is subpar and really frustrates me. It's one of those levels that's a more frustration-based level. So overall, my favorite level of this part would honestly be This Is Purple Not Pink. Even though that last segment just before the boss fight kind of annoyed me, or kind of made me irritated and caused me to die over a dozen times, the one with the flying shells, concrete platforms, and not concrete, Cossack platforms, as well as the spikes, it was still well designed and the difficulty progression was pretty nice, and I did like the fact that the individual elements of the stage, the individual challenges, were recombined later on. We saw it with the flying shells, the Cossack platforms, as well as spikes at the end, but we also saw it with the Picket Man first being introduced in a relatively plain ground, then in a more difficult configuration with uneven ground, and then in combination with the flying shells and really short platforms, or really thin platforms. So the level designer there does understand it. It's just my preferences that didn't necessarily align with it. But I would honestly go back and give it a thumbs up because I feel that was my most fun that I had with a level in this part. Although that isn't saying much like what happened in the previous part, because most of the levels outside of 1 or 2 were relatively bland, not well designed, or were too frustrating. So in the next part, I'll be covering a bunch of viewer submitted levels. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!